So, what's happening? The Clippers are winning. It seems like they figured it out. Now, I'm not gonna make any assumptions in this video, or at least I'm not gonna, speak on anything which we haven't seen before. So, if I say something in this video, I just want to say it's because I've seen it or it's happened. The Clippers won again. They've been pretty good recently. I like the Clippers. I like what they've been doing. For the past few games, they've won. I think they have a win streak right now. And honestly, this Clippers team has been amazing. If we're being 100% honest, they're a team which has been very good when it comes to, putting the ball in the basket and really making it make sense. But if we're being 1,000% honest right now, we could see that this team is getting itself on its feet and they're figuring out their rotation right now as it's just been changed. Originally they ran a guard rotation of Russell Westbrook, Bones Highland, and Terrence Mann as the big three, with Norman Powell getting big minutes, switching between positions and really being an all-around guy. But now, ever since James Harden came, they've pushed, that Bones Highland roll back, which it's sad to see. Bones is a good player, and he's been amazing. But honestly, now that we really see this game and this team, yesterday they beat the Spurs by 25. And honestly, this looks pretty promising. Now, what do we think about the Clippers? What do we think about this move? And what do we think about what they're doing right now is all predicated on how they're playing. And they're playing pretty well. I would say that Paul George finally found himself again after James Harden came in with the adjustment on offense. It was obvious that he took a hit, and that he had some struggles, but he looks like he's tapped back into that, as he had been struggling, especially to shoot from the field in his last 10 games, and that was mostly predicated on a few games. But now it seems like he's got it back, and he's back into that mode, which Paul George has been on this season. And honestly, if we really look at it, Paul George is being the number one player on this team right now, carrying this team as an all-star or all-NBA level piece at the way that he's playing right now. We've seen Paul George in this mode before, and it was not, uncommon to see him like this. It was just that last season, he was going through it when it came to, really seeing what was his role, and with all the roster changes and it's obvious that his mentality just wasn't there. But this season he's been on one, if we're being 1,000% honest, and now he's here to stay. Secondly, we have Kawhi Leonard here, who he has just been great this season. And he's not been better than Paul George, but honestly, Kawhi has just been Kawhi. The best thing about him is his availability. He's actually been playing, and it looks like he wants to play. He doesn't look too defeated, but it also doesn't look like he's really trying. It looks like he's putting more effort into the defensive end and into being great on both sides of the ball and onto being great on offense. And especially now that James Harden is there to play make and really, put it all together, it's good that he's doing that, because you could really see that James Harden in this game, even though he shot pretty badly, he had 10 assists. And that's all you can ask for James Harden. The reason why Russell Westbrook came off the bench, and the reason why it's good that James Harden is starting, is because of that playmaking aspect. You want James Harden to just run the floor. You don't want him to be taking dumb shots, and you don't want him to be making crucial decisions. That's why you have guys like Paul George. That's why you have guys like Kawhi Leonard, who will carry your team in the ways that you need to. Now, what you do want is that this guy right here, James Harden, can get you, 15 to 20 points and get you 10 assists per night, because that's what you need with this Clippers team. They're not a bad offensive team. Both of their stars combined to average around 49 to 50 points. They combined to around that, so, and the fact of that matter is that for a whole team of another, 5 to 8 guys in rotation who might play minutes in that game, it's not going to be very hard for those guys to put up 50 points. So the problem is in offense. They have two stars which are consistent. They have Russell Westbrook, a guy on the bench who could always explode for a lot of points. They have guys like PJ, which can space the floor. They have guys like Terrence Mann, who could really make it happen for you. So the problem isn't, and you have even guys like Bones Highland and Norman Powell, who will actually score a good amount of points for you. But the problem isn't scoring. The problem is playmaking. And they've always had this problem. Earlier in the season, they used Russell Westbrook as kind of like a playmaking slasher, and it was working really well for them. But if we see the games that they played, they weren't playing that tough of teams. And now that we see them and they've normalized and we see what they're doing and we see what they did the other day, it looks much better now, the James Harden deal. I'm still not going to say it's a good deal because James Harden has the tendency of going to a team, making them very good in the regular season, but then in the playoffs just absolutely stinking it up, which is something that, in a pattern which is not inconsistent. You've seen it in Houston multiple times. You've seen it in the Nets, where even though he was injured for most of that series, it was KD who had to do the heavy lifting when James Harden was considered the secondary star. And you saw it in Philly twice, where he really had that big meltdown in the playoffs, where it just looked like he couldn't play basketball. And if we're being honest, that was the biggest reason why people went against the James Harden trade. It wasn't about players not wanting him to be in a team. It wasn't about the league, criticizing him in any way. It was just like, you're going to a championship contender. You're going to a team which has actual championship level pieces and which has a best player in Kawhi Leonard who has won 2 rings before, and he knows what it takes to get up there and actually do it. So if you're going to this team, you cannot take away from that core a team which was winning. And yeah, now they are winning again. It looked really bad when you traded for a generational choker like James Harden, because if they don't win the ring this season, then they're going to have to pull something together to keep Kawhi happy. If you guys don't know, the Clippers are up for contract this season. They are struggling in that sense because they are a very expensive team, and bringing most of their guys back is going to be very hard. So this is really a championship or conference final season, or it's a bust season. And that's what I'm saying about the Clippers being on the line. The Clippers are building an arena. They need exciting players to go out there. And I know that they really want to keep Paul George. He's been their star. He's been consistent. He gives them great regular season games. And he's been winning them a lot of stuff. Kawhi is a good guy. He's a great player. But he's not that exciting to most people except you're a fan of the team. So what Steve Ballmer obviously wants to do is keep their guys, keep competing for championships, because he wants to host playoffs. He wants to host in-season tournament finals in their new arena called the Intuit Dome. But if we don't get to see this team produce and actually be able to, have good games and good playoff runs like the Los Angeles Lakers did last season, where even though they didn't win, and yes, they did get swept in the conference finals, there was a certain degree of confidence because you got to the conference finals and you knew that that was a winnable series by the outcome of those games. Yeah, they lost 4 games, but they were close games. They were hard-fought games, and just with a few buckets, they could have stole at least 1 or 2. That's what the Clippers need to be this year. They don't need to win it all. I don't like that expectation for them because honestly, they're a team which, even if they don't win, their stars don't fit in many other places unless there's a generational trades which are bound to happen next season. And that, in my opinion, is kind of ambitious to say. But when it comes to, the team and how they're going to structure around James Harden. If this is how they're going to play, then they're going to keep winning. But if they're going to try and be in the playoffs and run plays through Harden in clutch moments, then they might be in and setting themselves up for failure. That's all I wanted to say. I personally like what the Clippers have been doing. I just wanted to, make a real in-depth analysis on them and the way that they've been. Because honestly, let's face it, even though this team is good, we have to see this team when it matters the most and in very serious games. So yeah, shout out to the Clippers, and I'll see you next week. Peace.